Hey, how are we doing today? Welcome to Your Successful Retirement. I want to talk about something today that's a little technical, and I'm going to try and make it as non-technical as possible. But I don't know how many of you spend reasonable amount of time on social media. Maybe an hour a day. It's like flipping through it while watching TV at lunch, flipping through it late at night while watching the ball game, things like that. And I don't know if it's because I'm me and what I do for a living. I don't think so. I cannot tell you how many ads I get, a lot on Instagram, on people that want to help me convert my IRA to a Roth. And I assume some of it has to do with age, mid 50s. It's being targeted to those people. And these people are relentless. And it would be one thing uh, if it was a vendor trying to sell me software so that I could market that to my clients. It's not. It's like firms and other advisors that are trying to help me convert my Roth to an IRA. And it's such a complicated topic that it boggles my mind. As I get that they're probably looking for people it's a very niche ad to put out there, but the people that are concerned about it probably are very excitedly concerned about it. And that's why they do it. But I find the wrong questions are being asked. The wrong assumptions are being made. It's a hot button issue and horrific data. And I have spent the last probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years really diving deep into Roth conversions, especially since the 2017 Trump tax plan really changed how Roths were being used. And I've definitely, we've dove into that because it's so important. So I want to start by talking about just some basics. What is a Roth? I would think in 2025, everybody knows. Not everybody knows, and it's okay. And then kind of how the mechanics work, and then things you're supposed to be worried about. So a Roth was a senator from, I forget where, 1997. They passed a tax law change that was enacted, I believe, in 88, that allowed you to make a non-deductible or after-tax contribution to an IRA. And if you did so and designated it as a Roth contribution, when you withdrew the money, it came out tax-free. So as opposed to regular IRA where you put the money in and it grows tax deferred and you pay taxes on whatever comes out, this IRA, you put money in and it grows and grows and grows. And when you take it out, there's no taxes due. That's really cool. That's really cool. Now, there are two caveats. The two caveats, you have to be at least 59 and a half. If you're not, you take the money out, you'll pay all of the taxes plus a 10% penalty, just as if it was any other IRA. And the account has to be open for 5 years. Now, in Congress's infinite wisdom, the account's got to be open for 5 years. It's not a rolling 5 years in your contributions. People get very, very caught up in that. You can put money into an existing Roth this year and pull it out next year. Not really a smart strategy. As long as that Roth has been open for 5 years, you make a contribution this year. Next year, you can take that money back out on a tax-free basis. I don't quite understand why they did that, but that's how they wrote it. These people are not great. They're not financial geniuses. They're the skill of a person in Congress is getting elected to Congress. That's their real skill, and continuing to get elected to Congress. That's what they want to do. So that is all kind of the Roth thing. Is there's limits to how much you can put in, between $7,000 and $8,000, depending on your age. If you make more than about $150,000 as a single person, or about $235,000 as a married person, you start losing the ability to make that contribution, because the more of the ability you have to save money, the less that the government wants you to save money. And that doesn't make sense. But that was the logic back in 1997 was, oh, we don't want just the rich people, quote unquote, to have access to this. We only want people that can't afford to save to be able to save money. And we've seen that time and time again. I know that, and this is nothing on political, but early in Obama's first term, he came out with what I think, was it called the My IRA or the My RA? And it was for people near the poverty line, that if you put money in, the government was going to put money in. That's a great thing. But if you're near the poverty line, you don't have the ability to save money. What are you thinking? We've kind of moved away from that over the last 10 or 15 years. But those restrictions on the existing Roth IRAs still exist because Congress is not in the mood to clean things up. Is fixing yesterday's problems doesn't get you reelected. Come up with a new problem and trying to solve that one, that gets you reelected. So several years after they started Roth IRA, they started with Roth 401k. You can make a 401k deposit on a Roth basis. You don't get a tax deduction for putting it in, but when you retire, all of that money coming back to you comes back tax-free. Most people don't utilize this at all. And I've talked about this in the past at previous podcasts, is the vast majority of large corporations have a Roth component with their 401k, and next to nobody utilizes it. And I can't figure out why. I think it's a lack of information, a lack of concern. But you do have it with an interesting thing. Again, this is Congress being Congress and not fixing problems of the past, creating new ones in the future. You can contribute anywhere from $23,000 to $31,000, depending on age, to a Roth 401k. There is no income restriction whatsoever. None. Zero. Zilch. So you can make $1 million a year and you can still do a $23,000 Roth 401k contribution. And their theory is, well, we want to make sure that the people that can afford to save money can save enough money so they're not a burden on us later on. And that's the exact opposite thing of what they said in 97. They've never corrected 97. It's very, very confusing. Now, I will say this, a Roth is a long-term investment, even more so than an IRA in general. IRAs, 401ks are for the future, right? You start saving in your 20s and you withdraw the money in your 60s and your 70s. With a Roth, that is even more so, is the benefits of that tax deferral and that tax-free nature really manifest themselves over a long period of time. Is over 5 years, it's okay. Over 10, it's all right. 15, not bad. 20, now you start talking. Now it starts being something that is worthwhile doing. We recommend a lot of clients who are active employees at corporations that do have Roth 401k abilities to make those Roth 401k contributions over their working lifetime because the benefits are so massive on the back end. But doing it short term doesn't really make sense. There's one more Roth tidbit before we talk about conversions, is you'll hear something called a backdoor Roth. I don't like them. I'm not crazy about them. It's penny wise and pound foolish. Again, somebody would have to be maxing out their Roth 401k first. And as of next year, 2026, everybody's going to have access to Roth 401k by law because they're going to make all catch-up contributions be on a Roth basis. So if you're already maximizing your Roth 401k, I guess you could do a backdoor Roth contributions of $7,000, $8,000. It's not a lot in comparison to what you're saving otherwise. But some people, it may be beneficial. Is again, you go on Instagram, you look in the financial press, and they're really touting this as a great strategy. And it can be a nickel and diming type strategy. And there's a lot of pitfalls to a backdoor Roth. A backdoor Roth is you make a non-deductible IRA contribution because you make more than $150,000 or $235,000 a year. You make a non-deductible IRA contribution and then you immediately convert it to a Roth. And I know Fidelity for sure. I think Vanguard and Schwab also, but Fidelity for sure has a service that you call Fidelity and say, I want to make a backdoor Roth contribution. They open a temporary regular IRA, they deposit the money, and same day, they move it to the Roth. They move it to your Roth. So it happens automatically. There's no interest or dividends or anything, so there's no taxation on that. And you're able to make that Roth contribution because you made a non-deductible IRA contribution, which you're allowed to do, and you converted it immediately, which you're allowed to do. Again, if we allow this, why don't we just allow people just to make contributions? I don't know. They don't fix problems. They create problems. So let's talk about converting, because this is really kind of what we're dealing with. Is when you convert an IRA to a Roth, you take money that's in your existing IRA or old 401k or whatever, and you slide it over. You owe all of the taxes on that money. So let's say you have a $50,000 IRA and you want to convert it to a Roth. you will add $50,000 to your taxable income in that 1 year. That might be a problem, especially if you're working. So you need to be aware of that. Now, why would you do this? Is you're trying to avoid taxes in the future. If you anticipate that your tax rate, your personal tax rate, not just tax rates in general, but your personal tax rate will be higher in the future, Roth is a really good strategy. If you anticipate that tax rates will be lower in the future, which is possible, you could be in the 24 or 32% tax bracket working, and because of foibles of how you're spending money, you may only be in the 12% bracket in retirement. A Roth probably isn't a good strategy for you. It will take forever for that tax-free, tax deferral nature to actually overcome the taxes you're paying up front. You wouldn't think so, but it does. It takes a long, long, long time. And if you anticipate rates being about the same, they'll be equal, give or take, between now and retirement, it's okay. Again, it's going to come down to time. 5, 10, 15 years may not be enough. You're talking 20, 25, 30 years is really what you need. And if you're looking at this in your late 50s, early 60s, you start doing the math and thinking, oh, I don't have 30 years to wait before I spend this money. I need to spend this money in 5 or 10. All of a sudden, it might not be a good deal. But with this it's really about knowing what your bracket is. You need to know where you stand right now. And this additional, in the example I gave earlier, $50,000, is that going to push you in the next tax bracket? What is the taxes going to look like versus what they're going to look like on the back end? Also, you've got that 5-year rule. So you don't want to do this and then start taking money right the next year. I've had people recommend that in the past. They're like, oh no, we're just going to put it in there, and then next year we're going to start taking the money out. You can't do that. You have to leave some money outside of that Roth that you can spend, and then wait 5 years for the Roth. All that being said, and I threw a lot out at you, it is rare for us to recommend converting an IRA to a Roth for future income for a retiree. It's rare. Now, we recommend all the time, like I said earlier, making contributions to a Roth 401k is absolutely, absolutely important. It is, if you have access to it and you're not using it, within reason. There's a couple of exceptions. Within reason, you're foolish not to do that. But convert at 50, 55, 60, 65, 70 for future retirement income. I can count on one hand the people that I can count on less than one hand. How many times we've recommended that or agreed with a client that that's okay to do. It's so rare, but we do a lot of Roth conversions. I do a lot of Roth conversions, and I recommend people don't do Roth. How does that work? Let me tell you a different story, because here's what we utilize Roth conversions for. It's not a tax strategy. It's an estate planning strategy. And so many people miss this. So many people miss this. They get so hung up on, I want to save money in taxes, and not, I want to make sure I get the most money possible. That's really the key. It's not about how much you pay. It's how much you get to keep afterwards. So let's look at a situation where you have a reasonable amount of wealth. And it's likely that you're going to pass away and you're going to have money left over. That's becoming more and more common in this country. And it's a good thing. For most people that are in this situation, the two largest assets they have are their house and their IRA, their retirement accounts. Now, the house is easy. It passes to the kids pretty smoothly, especially if you have a trust, is they'll sell the house, split the money, all set. What about that IRA? How does that work? And again, going back to the Trump tax bill of 2017, things changed radically during that time. Is prior to 2017, if you passed away, your children could take possession of your IRA and split that money over their lifetime. So a 50-year-old child could take out, 2-3%, maybe a year, They can always take out more, but they had to take a minimum amount, which was a small amount of money, and then wait till their retirement and utilize that money to fund their retirement. It's a great strategy. It worked out perfect. Well, 2017 comes along, and the new rule is you have to take the whole thing out inside of 10 years. Oh, I can't spread it out over my lifetime? Nope, the whole thing, 10 years, pay all the taxes. And hopefully your wheels are turning just a little bit. Just a little bit. Because let's say you've got $1 million IRA split between two kids. Each child is going to get $500,000. They've got to take that out over 10 years. Likely they'll split it into 10 equal amounts, $50,000 a year. Going back all the way to that conversion in the first place, how much is that going to affect them? Now, you're talking about your children who at that time will be in their peak earning years. In their peak earning years, an additional $50,000 or $100,000 or whatever it is might push them into astronomical tax brackets depending on their situation. Whoa, wait a second. That's not so good. Let's come up with a different idea. Let's figure out how much we think we're going to have left over after you pass away. And we're going to be conservative about that number. And we're going to convert that into a Roth IRA now. Let's say you're 65. We're going to convert it today. And we're going to leave it there. We're going to invest it. I tend to be a little more aggressive in a Roth investment because I know it's long term. It's not going to be needed for quite a while. I want to try to get the best rate of return possible. That's just me. Put the money in and let it grow. What's your life expectancy for a married couple? Maybe 85. I think it's probably more than that, but let's say it's 85. That's 20 years. Now, your children have to take that money out by the end of the 10th year after you pass away. It's 30 years. Think about that. 30 years of growth on that account before they even have to touch it. When they touch it, they get it tax-free already. It's also tax-free at that time, and they can do whatever they want with it. They can give it to their kids. They can fund their retirement. They can go on a trip to Bora Bora. They can give it to charity. They can do whatever they want with it because it's a super massive amount of money versus what they had originally. It might be, I mean, look at the rule. Let's just use the rule of 72. I don't want to get into, what's the best rate of return, but if it's 5%, doubles every 12 years, give or take you're talking 1, 2, 3 doubles. So that $500,000 might turn into $1 million, $2 or $3 million. If you're using 10%, it's a lot higher. If you're using 7 or 8, it's in somewhere in the middle. But you can see how that amount of money can grow astronomically for your children and make a huge benefit. Now, will you pay more in income taxes today because of it? Yes, you will. Can it be worth it? Yes, it can. It can provide massive benefits. And that's really our focus on Roth conversions. The vast, almost all of our Roth conversions have nothing to do with taxes today, have nothing to do with retirement income. It has to do with making sure that the next generation is able to maximize the amount of money you saved. Not to give them more money. I'm not concerned with let's make sure you're eating peanut butter jelly sandwiches and tuna fish all the time so that they can have more money. Absolutely not. But the extra that we anticipate that they may inherit, we want to try to take advantage of that as much as possible. If you need that money during your lifetime for whatever reason, it's your money. Until you pass away, it's your money. You get to spend it however you want. But this allows us to set that up. So a couple of caveats with all of this, because your head might be spinning a little bit. You're thinking, well, how do I know? And I want to go back to those Instagram and Facebook and ads that I see that don't look like ads up front, but are really ads. And I want to tell you a story that happened just recently. I got a phone call about 6 months ago, and the brother of a client called me, and he said, it worked for telco, and said, look, I've got this retirement offer on my desk, and I got 2 weeks, and I need to know what to do. And you help my brother out, and I'm hoping you can kind of help me out. So we sat down. I had him bring as much paperwork as possible, which was limited, but as you know, with Verizon, AT&T, they give you X number of days and that's it. I said, look, come in, emergency meeting, come on in. And the emergency meeting the following week brought him back for the results. And when I ran the calculations, and granted, it was the information was incomplete, but it was after 34 years of doing this, it was adequate to figure out what was going on. he had done a good job in turn, or it seemed like he had done a good job on the surface. On the surface, he was actually really good. He probably had 5 times his income in his 401k. That's actually a pretty good number. It's not great, but it's pretty good. He was, I think, 60 at the time. He was going to get a pension buyout, which was decent. His wife had retired from another company a couple of years prior. She had a 401k with another advisor. I'll talk about that in a second. So you looked at their net worth and you went, wow, they have a lot of money. I looked at their spending. Wow, they spend a lot of money. He had a good amount because at one point he was saving a lot more, but he was barely putting 6% into the 401k. He had no other savings besides that. I think she was taking distributions already from her retirement account. I forget exactly. I didn't look at the file before telling the story. So I sat down with him the following week. I said, look, Biff, that's not his real name. Does anybody call themselves, do you call the kids Biff anymore? We should bring back Biff. I said, look, Biff, I don't think you should take this offer. You know, you've got 18 months, 2 years before the contract is up. I know they're going to give you another one. I don't know, but the likelihood is very high. You got to get your spending under control. You got to max out your 401k. You got to set up an emergency fund. There's a bunch of things you have to do. This probably isn't the time for you. Interest rates are likely to go down, so the lump sum on your pension will probably hold. You'll lose money because you're getting older, but you'll gain money because as interest rates go down, the pension buyout number goes up. So you'll probably be flat there, but I don't think this is the right move for you right now. And I don't think you should be talking to me yet. I think you need to get these things squared away. Let me check in with you in 6 months and we'll figure it out. He's very thankful. I really appreciate it. Gosh, there's a lot to think about. Thanks. It looks like it dodged a bullet there. So maybe a month or so ago, 3 weeks ago, I shot him a quick email. I said, hey, Biff, just checking in, seeing how 401k contributions are going, savings is going, just checking in. Now, mind you, he's not a client. I met with him twice just because he's the brother of a client and he needed help. He might become a client. I don't know, but I was just helping out. But I said, just checking in, seeing how things are going. If you wanted to get together to look over anything, I'd be happy to do it. Again, I'm not getting paid. I just want to help. And he ruined my day. He absolutely ruined my day. Because he said, yeah, I retired 6 months ago. I talked to my wife's guy and he said I could go and we left and I just transferred all the money to him and we're all set. Thanks. The guy was a glorified insurance agent. I'm sorry to say that, but he was. And that's not necessarily bad in and of itself, but didn't do it. Based on the investments I was seeing, there wasn't a plan really. It was kind of like haphazard. And I know he didn't do the calculations. I know it because my calculations were so ugly. He probably looked at the balance and went, there's a lot of money. I could manage a lot of money. Let's tell this guy he can retire. And I'm not sad, I'm not frustrated because he didn't become a client. I will survive. I'm not sad for the time I put in. I don't care about that. I helped someone or I tried to help someone. What absolutely crushed me was I know in 10 years, I'm going to get a call from Biff's brother, who's a client of mine. It's going to say, hey, look, can you sit down with Biff? And Biff's going to come in. He's going to have a third of the money he has right now. He's going to be 10 years older. He's going to be well into retirement. He's going to be still overspending. He's going to be like 3 or 4 years away from running out of money completely and looking for a Hail Mary. And there's not one coming. And I could have stopped it had Biff not just looked for the answer he wanted. And that's what Biff wanted. Biff wanted somebody to tell him, you can go right now. You can just go, get out. And he couldn't. He could not. He was not ready for it financially. And that frustrates me. So the first piece of advice, do not talk to somebody who's just going to tell you what you want to hear. You really want to talk to somebody. And when dealing with a Roth conversion, I think you need professional help. A lot of what I do, I tell people, if you want to take the time, you can do it yourself. Man, this is complicated. This is complicated stuff. I will tell you that there is a bunch of software out there that you can go through, and I've seen all of it. I've seen a lot of it. I will tell you one of the number one ones out there is we have a piece of software that does a retirement analysis. And I know it's good because I used to do it by hand for so long. that I know what good output is and what bad output is based on because I'll still do back calculate everything just to make sure that the software is doing what it's supposed to do. And my gosh, this retirement software is so tight. It is so good. There are occasional times when me and Justin, my assistant, will come up with a number. We will go, no, there's no way. We'll go through the data. It's like, oh, we didn't do this correctly. Had we run this through our old software that we built, it would have come out the same way. But on the surface, it looked like X and it was actually Y. Well, this great software that I love, and I'm cheap. So if it's not good, I'm not paying for it, and I'm paying for it. Their Roth conversion software is absolute garbage. It's just absolute garbage. Like all of the other ones, it is always overestimating the benefit of a Roth conversion, like shockingly overestimating it. And I look and I go, that's not right. That's just not right. That's telling people to convert, and it's actually going to end up in the end, they're going to have less money in their pockets. That's bad. That's very, very bad. So having a professional run these calculations is vitally important because it's so complicated. And you don't want the person that you walk in the door and say, hey, I think I need a Roth conversion. They say, we are experts in that. Let's get you started right now. No. Could you imagine going to a cardiologist and say, I've had these pains in my chest. I think I need a bypass. And him go, we are bypass experts. We're going to schedule you for surgery next Wednesday. Wait, you haven't done an EKG. You haven't done a CAT scan. You haven't looked at the blood flow. You haven't done that catheter thing. You haven't done anything. Nope. This is what we do. We do bypass surgery. See you Wednesday. And that's what you get in a lot of cases is somebody is so focused on the thing that they do that they forget, oh, is this even right for this person? So that's number one. Number two, you got to know your numbers, and you got to know the number one number that you need to know is your tax bracket. What's your tax bracket? Did you know there's 7 of them? There are 7 of them for individuals and families. We have a 10, a 12, a 22, a 24, a 32, a 35, and a 37. That's a big spread, isn't it? I remember it was 15, 28. Is it 15, 28, 14, 28? Gosh, it's been a while. It was like 3. I liked 3 tax brackets. 7's a lot. And you notice there's 10 and 12. Those are kind of close. So, if I'm in the 10 and I bump into the 12, I don't really care. And 22 and 24, if I'm in the 22 and I bumped into 24, I'm not really that worried because it's only another 22%. But if I'm in the 24, I definitely don't want to go to 32. 8% of my money gone. We want to be very, very careful of that. Knowing what your bracket is, knowing how close you are to the top of that bracket, knowing what the next bracket is, knowing what the top of that bracket is. So let's say you're in the 22, you might want to max out to the 24. Knowing those numbers is absolutely vital for deciding if you should do a Roth contribution or not, a Roth conversion rather, or not. And you need to know what it is today. You need to know what it's going to look like in the future. You need to get an estimate of what you think your kids are paying or might be paying 20 or 30 years down the road in terms of their taxes to determine if any of this is really worth it. It's not a slam dunk decision. You need to know all of these numbers. You need to know them cold. Can you look them up? You can. When you start doing the pro formas of what things look like in the future, without a lot of expertise in it and knowledge, you may make bad decisions. You want to be careful. And the last thing is understand that in most cases, this is a multi-year process. So let's say we take that client with that extra $500,000 that they don't think they need, and they want to convert it to a Roth. Well, now you're talking, you probably want to do that in 1 year. You want to split that out over 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, maybe, depending on where you are in the tax bracket realm. All of a sudden, that compounds the calculation, doesn't it? You're looking at not just a single year calculation, But now we've got to factor in multi-years and how that money is going to grow over those multi-years and all of that. It's like I said, our software that we've designed ourselves it's sophisticated in the fact that I can hand change just about everything on the fly. And that's why it works so well, is because every client situation is different. If not, you're sitting there with a piece of paper and a pen and a calculator, usually a financial calculator, trying to figure out how to do all of this. It's not very easy. You need to understand that this is likely a multi-year process and will exponentially change the number of calculations you have to do. So I have probably baffled you completely. I apologize, but it's important to know that when you see these ads for Roth conversion or this or that, it's not that simple. This might be a good strategy for you. It might not. You might say, I don't care about this at all. That makes your life so much easier, doesn't it? You looked at all the things we talked about today and go, that checks 0 boxes for me. I'm good to go. But you might go, oh, wait a second. That might be me. You probably need some help. If you do, jump down in the show notes. You can reach out to us through our website or through LinkedIn. You can also just shoot me an email. It's my email. Dennis@successfulmoney.com is my email. It will go directly to me. Nobody else. Nobody else is monitoring that email box. Might be able just to give you a quick piece of advice. If not, maybe we need to go through a big analysis or a larger plan. I don't know, but it's important to find out to make sure that you and your heirs are able to preserve as much of your wealth as possible. So that's what I have for you today. Stay safe out there.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Remember, the views expressed are not necessarily those of Successful Money Strategies. All content is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as an endorsement of any third party or their views, or as a solicitation or offer to sell securities or provide investment, tax, legal, or consulting services. We believe the information presented to be reliable, but it is not guaranteed for accuracy or completeness. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Hypothetical returns do not reflect actual trading and may not be indicative of the performance of any specific investment. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Additional information, including management fees and expenses, is provided on our Form ADV Part 2, available upon request, or at the SEC's Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website, https:// advisorinfo.sec.gov.